Hi. I figured I'd just share with you a little bit about um, some reflections on some things that have been going on with me, um, and really with people that I know, people who I've talked to a lot in the last week or so. Um, Recently went on a camping trip over the weekend, and it's the first time I've been camping in 5 years. And uh, the last time I went camping 5 years ago, it was a little bit traumatic. So this past weekend, though, it was the opposite of that. It was very healing. It was very uh, transformative in certain ways. Sort of a corrective experience. Um, it helped me to let go of really just a lot of things. Needing to feel like I I just really felt like I needed to have other humans around me. Um, Being in nature, being around other humans who are all just like there for the same purpose and clearly there for like, you know, it was a yoga retreat. So it kind of oozed that sort of like, meditation and yoga and all of that. The people I was around were very supportive and compassionate, and it all of the combination of those things, the people, the environment, being in the woods, camping again, it felt so good. It just felt good to detach from technology for a bit and like really just sort some things out. And it didn't feel like work to sort those things out. It just kind of happened naturally. Just took place on its own. Um, I love this song. Mm. Anyway, Iron and Wine, by the way, is sort of my. It feels like my theme music a lot of times. I really connect with Sam Beam, this guy. He actually went to my high school, which is insane. Completely crazy. I found that out years ago. Um, well, back when I was in high school. It was a long time ago now. But I was waiting for my dad to pick me up from school because I didn't have a car yet. I think I was maybe 10th grade. And I was my dad was taking way longer than usual. It was like probably 5:30, 6 p.m. at this point, like hours after school was out. And I was like sort of getting a little pissed. I was just kind of like, holy crap, man, just want to go home. And I was so mad, I just like couldn't think straight. And I remember I was sitting in front of the gym and I looked over and saw this sign in front of the gym, like front entrance. It's a standing sign, and it said "Tonight only, Iron and Wine, live show." And at this point in time, I didn't know who Iron and Wine was. This is maybe like 2005 or something, and like he had put albums out by then, but I didn't really know who he was, and I hadn't heard of him yet. And so I was just like, who cares? I saw that sign and was like, who gives a crap, like whatever. It's some person playing music. I was just so pissed off that I didn't even care. And I just kind of like sat in my little misery bubble waiting for my dad to get there. And I found out who Iron and Wine was years later, and was talking with a friend and just had like a mind explosion moment because my friend told me that he went to the same high school as me. It was the first time I'd ever heard it. It's like, no, he did? And he's like, yeah. And he has older brothers. And he said that Sam Beam, the guy from Iron and Wine, went to school with his older brothers. Like, was in the same year. They graduated the same year and went to school with him at the school that I went to just years before I was there. And I had this moment where like it all went back to that day when I was sitting in front of the gym, saw that sign, and was like, no, I could have walked 20 feet and met Sam Beam and just chilled out with him. Yeah, that story haunts me to this day, but it's fine. We still connect on like a energy level. It's fine. And I learned some of his music on guitar, and it's fun. It's fine. Anyway, aside from knowing Sam Beam, where were we? The camping trip. So camping was really good. I've learned a lot recently that nature therapy is huge. It's a definitely super useful thing to do. Being inside is fine, but something about nature, reconnecting with just the fresh air and trees, and you go walk in a park for 10, 15, 20 minutes and you'll feel like a difference. You'll definitely feel a difference. So to be camping for like 3.5 days was huge, but it gave me a chance to process a lot, because I've had a lot go down in the last 5 years, particularly the last 5 years, and even in the last 5 months, really 5 or 6 months, there's been a lot. I've been unpacking a lot of things, some grief, some trauma, some really intense situations. There's a lot of stories for other times, but essentially I just wanted to touch on some of this because I know that the things that I go through and the things that I deal with are not my own, in the sense that I'm the only one who feels them. I talk with a lot of people, a lot of friends, and I realize through talking with them that we're connected more than we know. And some of the things that we're going through are so similar. I mean, in some cases, they almost seem the exact same, with just a different label. That's an important distinction that I've made in the last several years when it comes to mental health and staying sane. I think that's the only way I've been able to stay sane in the last 5 years, is connecting with other human beings who kind of got it, or at least were willing to hear, what I had to say. And that's huge. It's really important to find someone who's willing to hear what you have to say without judgment, without fear of how they'll react or how they'll feel. Something I dealt with my entire life was depression. And one of the things about that, if you know anything about it, is that a lot of times you can feel like your darkness is going to be hard for someone else who's around you. And that isn't always in the frontal mind. Sometimes it's like kind of in the back. And so you just sort of isolate yourself and like pull yourself away and sit in inside a lot. A lot of times that means you're indoors more than you are outdoors. Sometimes going outside feels like hard. And I've been there. And everything comes in phases, I still have that every now and then. It'll just be like everything's good for like any period of time, and then suddenly, out of what appears to be out of nowhere, I'm just like suddenly in the pit of despair. I'm just like, what the fuck? This sucks. Why am I back here? I thought I was through this. And what I've learned is that grief and trauma and depression and any of that stuff, it all is cyclical. It all is like a spiral. It's like you go through something for a certain period of time. You do what you feel like you've healed from it, and then you're good. And then at some random amount of time goes by, and then suddenly, you live your life like everything's okay, and then you're right back there. And when you come back the second, third, fourth, fifth time, however many times it is since whatever it was that happened, it's like sometimes easier and sometimes harder, because like in some cases you're like, can I be done with this? That's how grief is. Grief is especially like that. If you've ever experienced a loss of any kind, not just people, sometimes grief comes in all forms, but most notably in the forms of loss of, people that are close to you. There's other ways that can come too, like marriages is a big one. People like, falling out of love, things like that. That's huge. I also have been there. I was actually married, what is it, like 8 years ago? 8 years ago? 7 or 8 years ago, I don't know. I was actually married for a very short time, and then divorced very soon after. It was rough, but it's all right. I moved through it. Some people don't move through it as quickly or as easily as I did, and I realized that. Some people, it sticks with them for a long time, but it's important to remember that everyone's healing takes place at their own speed. To expect yourself to be through something, it's not really going to help you very much in the long run, especially if you find yourself coming back around to those kind of spirals of grief where you're back in that pit of despair. It's like you have to realize that healing for anything, especially grief, it's not like a linear scale. It's not like over time it gets easier instantly. Sometimes it gets easier and then it gets harder out of nowhere, and sometimes it can be the hardest it's ever been in the future, and that's frustrating as hell. And I wish I could tell you guys that it gets easier, period. But it does get easier. It's all about how you bring your mind to it. Honestly, it really has a lot to do with your mindset. So for that reason, it's really important to work on that, to find a way to get yourself in a good place mentally. Introspection is huge. If you can find like a practice, like obviously I would say yoga and meditation because that's what I do, but there are other things you can do too. I mean, anything that involves like a group activity in a positive environment. Sometimes sports can be that, not always, but sometimes. Playing games with your friends, anything. There's like literally infinite things you can do that will help. But the key is to find something that the most important thing you can find is something that you can sustain yourself without needing someone else. And that's why I love meditation, because I don't have to have someone else to do it. I don't have to have someone else's guidance. I don't have to depend on someone being there. I can do all of that. I mean, if you're starting out with meditation or something like that, obviously you have to depend on someone to learn it. But once you learn it, you can really kind of do your own thing and really move your own way, go your own way. I feel like we should be listening to Fleetwood Mac now. But yeah, today has been a big day for reflection. I've talked with a lot of my friends about the last few months, and I'm just here to remind you that you're not alone. Truly, you're not alone. You're not going through this alone. There are always people somewhere that will be willing to listen to you. It doesn't always feel that way because it's really scary to reach out when you're in a place that's feeling low. I learned recently, I changed something recently with that, where I was at a very low point after really hard time. I kind of lost a friend, or thought I was losing a friend, a really good friend, and it destroyed me. It absolutely, utterly wrecked me, and I was like paralyzed. It felt like I was energetically paralyzed. Like I could not function, thinking that I would not have this friend in the future, because it was really helpful, and they were just really important to me. And so I was wrecked, and I just kind of like crumbled up I went into my little shell in my house and just wanted to like do nothing. I was like incapable of movement, common thing in depression. And instead of just like burrowing into my hole, so to speak, I decided to reach out to one of my good friends who lives nearby, who I don't really see that much, but the times that I have seen her, it's been it's felt very heart opening. Like I feel like I can feel safe around this person to express myself openly. And so I thought of her, and I reached out. I was like, hey, could you just like, would it be possible if you're free to just come hang out with me for a minute? Because I'm really going through something right now. Like really need a human contact of some kind to get through this. And in all my years, I'm 31 years old. In all my years of being alive on this earth, I had never done that. I had always chosen to just stay in my pit of despair alone, isolate myself, and make sure that no one else could potentially feel the pain I was feeling. I was trying to keep it self-contained. It's like you're trying to bottle up an explosion, but it's really more like a slow motion explosion, something. Anyway, I went against 31 years of programming, and I reached out to this person. I went out on a limb. It took some bravery and some courage, but she was available, which was a miracle, and she said yes, which is another miracle. And she came over, and we just talked. Like, she let me talk about everything that was going on, about my friend who I thought I'd lost. And it was unbelievably helpful. Like, I still felt bad, but I felt like because there was someone here with me, and that there was someone hearing it, like to hear what I had to say and how I was feeling, it affirmed how I was feeling just for her to be present. She didn't even have to say anything back. I mean, she really was just listening pretty much the whole time. Said just a little bit, and it changed everything. And eventually we hugged and she left, and I was like, I felt a lot better, felt lighter. And that experience has changed the way I see mental health, mental illness, depression, all of that. It's changed a lot for me. Because I sometimes you don't expect to drop back into something like that. You feel like you've gotten through it, and then suddenly life throws a curveball at you, and it's really freaking hard. So yeah, this is my way of saying, be brave, have courage to reach out if you feel like you're in a dark place. Yeah, it's really important. Yeah, I just wanted to touch on that and fill you guys in on some of what's been going on in my life. Yeah, after that camping trip, I'm feeling a lot better. Tomorrow, June 4th, is a very big day for me. It's sort of the anniversary of a person who passed away, who was really close to me, and 5 years ago. And I know that's like really heavy, But I've gone through a lot of processing and healing with that. So grief, again, it's a spiral. It comes back around. And it's important to look at things like that. So I'm probably going to spend tomorrow reflecting and journaling and not sitting in that pit of despair, because I don't feel like I'm in despair. I feel actually really good. I feel great. I've done all of the pit of despair stuff with that. Not all of it. Who knows? It could come back around. But it's important to let yourself feel the emotions that you're feeling. Right now, I feel good. So I'm just going to ride that until I don't. And then I'll feel that, whatever it is. That's the important thing. So I'm just going to do some reflecting tomorrow on that. And probably some fun stuff. I'll just probably do some fun things. I don't know what that is yet, but it's really kind of like treat yourself. It's really important to do things like that every now and then, like treat yourself and do things that are actually fun. Like you just sit and ask, like, what could I do that would be a lot of fun? Or just like make my life feel more joyous, whatever that is. Thought about going to one of those trampoline parks where they have like the trampolines and the like obstacle course and stuff. I don't know. I'm not sure yet. Anyway, I wanted to let you guys peer into my thoughts for just a moment, just in case it helps at all. And if it does, awesome. So thank you all for listening, chilling with me. If you guys want, we can do more of these mental health talks and things like that. I've got a lot of stories to share. Please let me know if this helps at all, even in a tiny way. Thank you all for being here and listening. Peace.